What's good, y'all? Welcome back to Reek Knows Hoops. I'm your host, Tyreek. Be sure to leave a like, subscribe if you are new. It's a place where we talk about NBA basketball, so if you love hoops, this is the place for you. And Game 6 of the Jazz and Clippers series is going to be known as the Terance Mann game. It's going to be known as the Terance Mann game. Terance Mann dropping 39 points in a closeout game. And this sums up this series for the Clippers, man. No Kawhi in these last two games, and they were able to still close out the Utah Jazz, man. Got to give a lot of credit to this Clipper team. You know, here, if you're new, this is a place I like to give credit where it's due, and the Clippers deserve a lot of credit, man. They've been the bud of every joke since last postseason in the bubble. Paul George, Pandemic P, Playoff P, Pitiful P, like all these jokes for Paul George. Give that man his flowers, man. He's been great this postseason. He's been great this series, and he's especially been great these last two games with no Kawhi Leonard. He really took on being the superstar, the lone superstar in this team, and he played that role excellent tonight as well in a closeout game. When the Clippers trailed in this game by as much as 25 points, I was ready to wrap it up and call it a night. I was about to go to sleep. Then the Clippers slowly started to make a run, led by Paul George, led by Terance Mann and Reggie Jackson. And not to mention, shout out to Patrick Beverley, because I was critical of him in the Dallas series because he was borderline unplayable and he fell out of the rotation. But he got back into the rotation in this series, and he really performed very well. And especially tonight, he hit some really big shots down the stretch, made some critical defensive plays, guarded Donovan Mitchell very well. Big shout out to Pat Bev. But this is going to be known as the Terance Mann game for the right reasons, man. Inserted into the starting lineup after Kawhi Leonard went down with his injury. And, you know, his minutes was kind of like sparring. It was like he would get minutes here and there in this postseason. He had a really big Game 7 against the Dallas Mavericks. And then early on in this series against the Jazz, he wasn't playing. He wasn't touching the floor. But Ty Lue once again decided that he's done trying to play. He's done trying to match up size-wise with the Utah Jazz, and he went small, and it worked to perfection. He was getting a ton of wide-open corner threes because Rudy Gobert was leaving them open, trying to protect the paint, and the Clippers they've done a really good job all postseason of getting into the paint and kicking out to open three-point shooters, and Terance Mann made them pay tonight. 7 3-pointers made, I believe, in this game. And Jeff Van Gundy, who was on the call, he made a very good point. He's either getting threes or layups, corner threes or layups. That's really what it was for Terance Mann in this game. And he made the most of his opportunities. He was very efficient in this game. And that's just a big-time performance by a second-year player. And that also made a good point in the telecast. Like, he played 4 years of college basketball in a very big program in Florida State. Shout out to Leonard Hamilton for what he does there. He produces NBA players, and he produces really good pros. And Terance Mann, you know, even though he's only a second-year player, he's been playing, you know, high-level basketball, you know, tournaments type basketball. He's been playing big games for a long time. So big shout out to Terance Mann, because, you know, it's a closeout game. You want to win this game so you don't have to go back to Utah for a Game 7. And the Clippers really came through in this one, coming back, like I said, from 25 down. Tough one for the Jazz. We're going to talk about the Jazz. Very tough one for the Jazz. I noticed in this game they were attacking the defensive player of the year, Rudy Gobert. And if you know me, I definitely thought Ben Simmons was defensive player of the year, but I'm not like upset. Rudy is he really impacts the game on the defensive side of the ball, like, very well. But they were attacking him in this game, and, you know, he's done a good job all series, but these last couple of games they've definitely made it, you know, an emphasis to attack him on the defensive side, and they did that very effectively tonight. And he had the Terance Mann assignment, and it was tough for him to try and protect the paint and also get out to Terance Mann. Terance Mann was making them pay all night long. Donovan Mitchell, you could tell that ankle was definitely being favored. You could tell he was definitely injured, favoring that ankle. Still, he played a good game, but it's tough. It's tough trying to battle through those injuries. Just like it's tough for Mike Conley to not play this entire series, and then all of a sudden, it's an elimination game. Mike, we need you back on the floor. It's tough to ask somebody to play in the All-Star level when they haven't played in like 3 weeks. They haven't played basketball in about 3 weeks. It's tough to ask somebody to do that. It was just really the Jazz, they were hot in the first half, much like in game number 5. They were hitting their shots. Bogdanovich, Jordan Clarkson, Donovan Mitchell, these guys, Royce O'Neal, they were hitting their shots in the first half, and then they just cooled off. And that's the thing about a team that relies so heavily on the 3-point shot, man. You live by the three and you die by the three. And in this game, when the offense died off, it was hard for the Utah Jazz to really catch a rhythm. Jordan Clarkson was tremendous in the second quarter, and he didn't do anything the rest of the game. He did not do a thing the rest of the game. Donovan Mitchell slowed down as the game went on as well. And it was just, once the Clippers got going, it seemed like it was just over from that point. I mean, even when I just felt like once the Clippers cut it to like 6, I'm just like, this just has the feel of a game that the Clippers are going to find a way to win this one. And they did, man. And I gave my shout outs. I got to give a shout out to Ty Lue because his game plan was very good in this game. He stuck to the small ball, and it worked. He stuck to the small ball, and it worked. It worked to perfection, and it pays dividends when Terance Mann is, hitting 7 3-pointers, and he's getting very good looks. He's making plays in transition. Big shout out to Ty Lue because another guy super critical of for the right reasons. He gives us all reasons to be critical of him, but he has also responded very well in this postseason, making adjustments. I love coaches that are able to make adjustments before it's too late. I like seeing that. And Ty Lue's been able to make adjustments, so I got to give him a lot of credit. And now the LA Clippers, for the first time in franchise history, are in the conference finals. Are going to face off against the Phoenix Suns. I think Game 1's on Sunday. We don't know at this point. I don't think Chris Paul's playing. I still don't know what's up with Kawhi. Like, they said ACL injury, but they didn't say it was torn. So I don't know what's going on with Kawhi. I really don't know what's going on with him. Hopefully, if he's able to maybe get back onto the court, that would be great. But I don't know if that's really a possibility, and I don't know when Chris Paul will be back into the lineup. But I still think this will be a fun series. Really, regardless, I still think that this will be a very fun series. I think these two teams match up very well. It would obviously be better if all hands were on deck, but I still think these teams, player for player, match up very well, especially when guys are playing as good as they were playing, man. Reggie Jackson has been playing elite basketball in this postseason. He's been playing elite basketball. Paul George has looked like a superstar player. He's been playing like playoff P. He's been playing really good. He's been playing great. Terance Mann has had his moments. Pat Bev was pretty good in this series too. And, Nick Batum, Marcus Morris, these guys are vets. They're capable, very capable of playing solid basketball. And the Phoenix Suns have been the most impressive team in this postseason, I would say. Even though they're a little inexperienced outside of Chris Paul, Jay Crowder, they have shown a lot of, poise, a young team with a lot of poise. So I still think, regardless, this will be a very good series, man. I'm really looking forward to this one. And I think I'm happy to see the Clippers shake off last postseason, shake off another 0-2 start to a series. And yeah, I'm glad to see guys step up. Like, seeing Terance Mann step up, that's big time. Let's move on to the other game from the night, though. Talked about the Clippers enough. Philly forcing a game 7. Philly forcing a game 7 and an ugly game, a very ugly game, defensive contest, 104-99. And Philly, the 76ers, forced a game 7. They didn't blow a lead this time. Yeah, big shout out to the 76ers, man, because it's a game where Joel did not play good. Ben Simmons was in foul trouble all game. Wasn't being aggressive offensively. Seth Curry. That's my shout out. That's my guy. He's been the best offensive player for Philly all series, at least the most consistent offensive player for the 76ers all series long. You got to give a big shout out to Seth Curry, man. He was what got Philly into the driver's seat in this game. In the third quarter, he came out. I think he hit like 3 or 4 shots to start the quarter, and that really just swung the momentum in this game. Even though Atlanta, they made it a game, they got back into it, I believe, like within one possession, but Philly was able to close this one out. Tobias Harris also, I think, had 24 points along with Seth Curry's 24 points, and that's enough to get this win. Now, Game 7. This is the thing about Game 7s, man. Anything can happen. Anything can happen. We got a couple of Game 7s this weekend. and both on the Eastern Conference side. So, we don't know what the matchups on the East is looking like. And I think those game sevens can go either way on both sides. I wouldn't be confident picking either team in either series. Like, I really would not be confident picking. I think it can go either way. So we got game sevens, man, the best words in sports. But I just want to give big shout out to Philly for finding a way to close this game, even when, your best players did not play their best basketball. So this is a good win for them. Let's see what game 7 holds for them, because if they don't win this game, I think there will be some shakeup in Philly this offseason, man. I don't know if they lose, it will definitely be an underachieving season. And I don't know how they bring the core guys back, or without at least exploring trade options. I mean, we know they had the James Harden trade on the table earlier this season. They didn't pull the trigger. So, if they lose this series, if they lose game 7, there might be some moves happening in Philly. That's all I'm going to say, though. That's all I'm going to say. And then quickly for the other series, I think that game 7 is going to be very interesting, too, because neither team's won on the road, so I don't know how confident I feel in the Bucks to all of a sudden get a road win. But they've shown that they can win on the road. There's still gonna be no Kyrie Irving. We don't know how healthy James Harden is still. He looked a little bit better in Game 6, but he didn't look like James Harden. And they might need James Harden to be closer to James Harden than what he has been the last couple of games, because it's a Game 7, man. You can't. Your stars have to play like stars, but also you need some role players to step up. Joe Harris has not been playing that good. Jeff Green had a big offensive game. You need a game like that from somebody. Maybe not 27 points, but maybe like a 15 point from Jeff Green or a 15 from Blake Griffin. You're gonna need that in a game 7. Same goes for the Milwaukee Bucks. I think the key for them though is Chris Middleton. He's played great at home and he's played terrible on the road in this postseason in this series. So he's gonna be the key. Also, if you can get a game from Drew Holiday, he hasn't been good offensively this series. I think those two guys can be the difference makers in potentially the Milwaukee Bucks knocking off the Brooklyn Nets. So, yeah, best words in sports, game 7. Got 2 of them this weekend. One on Saturday, one on Sunday. And then the LA Clippers advancing to their first ever conference finals, man. Shout out to them. Give Paul George his flowers. Terance Mann.